Susie,
Rob,
the fossil files is 1 year old. Happy birthday to us.
happy birthday to us. Oh my God, it feels like we've been doing it for 100 years, Rob.
Is that because you've had to sit in a room with me and listen to me witching on about fungi and fish, or is it because it's just too much, the passing of time?
No, I was joking. It actually, Rob, one of my favorite things about the fossil files, which I think we'll probably get to our favorite things, is getting to sit with you in a room and listen to you witter on. It's so
That's
nice.
nice.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it. We've had a lot of fun talking about stuff that I ordinarily wouldn't have get to talk about, and learning new stuff. I mean, I do wonder if it makes me a better scientist or not. I guess it probably does, but it also takes me away from doing my proper day job. So I
Well, that's
don't.
true, but it is quite diverting, isn't it, to read about a whole bunch of things and read papers. We said it right at the beginning that we hope that we would get to read some stuff that we never got time to read because of our day
Oh,
jobs, and we do,
certainly.
don't we?
I
So that's
certainly have
nice.
read papers about dinosaurs and human
De-extinction.
human evolution or the de-extinction one. So, what do you think of? What are some of your highlights of the year so far?
I always come back to the fossil fails. I massively enjoyed sauropod embryos on the moon. That was obviously hilarious, extremely funny.
Yeah.
There was we've done some cool things. I've really enjoyed some things that I didn't know anything about before.
Hmm.
So I liked the one about the fungus coming out of the ant heads. That was a
Yeah,
great
that was a
episode.
good one.
What else? Oh, I did like the de-extinction ones. They were very interesting.
Yeah, the de-extinction was top of my list actually because that was perhaps one of our earlier ones, but it really told me what I guess I'm getting excited about for this, which is getting worked up about ones that terrible. Doing the good papers is fun, like the one we just did about
Prototaxites.
taxites, or the ones that are terrible, like the de-extinction or the octopus one. I guess gets us much more animated, and the
It
dinosaurs on the
gets us
moon,
worked up, doesn't it?
which is
Yeah, yeah,
obviously just ludicrous. I also quite enjoyed some of the human ones more than I was expecting. Thinking
yeah,
about what Neanderthals were up to and how humans get named. That's fun.
yeah. I really enjoyed that as well.
So, for our 1 year anniversary episode, we're going to have a sort of highlight reel of some of our favourite bits and pieces. So, we're going to piece them together for you now.
One of my favourites, the fossil fails, a Precambrian beehive, and dinosaurs on the moon. Ooh.
Okay, so I have just sent Susie a link to another paper called Dinosaur Eggs with Fossilized Embryos on the Moon. Now, that is a hell of a title. That is
I,
a hell of a title,
I'm,
right?
I, I don't know where to start. I'm, oh my God, the New
Susie has been
York
rendered
Science
speechless. For the
Journal.
first time ever, Susie is speechless.
Wow.
So, this paper was published in 2023 in, I'm going to say a journal. I'm not going to
It's
say a
the
journal.
New York Science Journal. It's not one I've ever heard of before,
Let's
I'll
be
be
clear.
honest.
It's a shady predatory journal, right?
Oh, okay.
So Harry Mohan Saxena and Yagmohan Saxena, brothers presumably, I don't know.
Maybe.
Um, they published this paper. They like to look at images of things on the moon. Now, I didn't realize this, but NASA have uploaded, really fine detailed scans of the entire moon. You can just scroll around looking at the entire thing.
Oh, I wonder if it's all been taken down now.
Oh God. Yeah,
How
that's
sad.
possible given the new political climate.
Yes.
But let me bring up this paper. Where's it gone? I've lost it.
It's in the link. You just sent it to me.
So, yeah, sorry. This is chaotic. So, in this paper, they have highlighted some images from areas of the moon that they think have the morphology of a sauropod dinosaur embryo. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I am genuinely speechless. It is that I have to say, figure one is
Yeah.
is one of the funniest things I have ever seen in a published scientific paper.
So,
It's
describe to
like,
us figure one. What are we looking at?
well, there's no scale bar, so it's difficult to know whether I'm looking at like the whole moon or just. I'm assuming it's a very high resolution zoom in.
Yeah.
And what it is, it's kind of got a blue knobbly background, and then there's a yellow circle. Um, and inside the yellow circle is a blue knobbly thing, which you know, um, what are they called? Sea monkeys, like you used to grow in a tank when you were little. Those like they're little, what are they? They're little tiny, I don't know, they're little tiny arthropods or something. And they look a little bit like little tiny prawns. So it
Yeah,
looks a bit like that. And it's really funny because it's got a number of legs and then it's got like a round face with two eyes
yeah, yeah.
and a sort of some sort of mouth apparatus thing. It's hilarious. What I tell
The-
you, what it doesn't look like in any way is a dinosaur embryo. Doesn't look anything like any sort of dinosaur embryo that has ever been seen.
Okay. So I feel really bad giggling about this, but these guys have been doing this for a while. They've been looking at these images of the moon, putting them through filters, and looking for images, and then describing what they found.
Right, have you
Uh,
seen the second reference? Have you seen the title of the second reference in this paper? It's by the same
burial,
authors.
burial, burial pits with animal and alien skull-like structures present on the south pole of the moon suggest that humans and/or aliens might have existed on the moon for some time. In the same journal, it may not surprise you, no. So
No.
this is brilliant stuff. Now, when this paper came out, Jordan Bestwick first was the one that posted it and brought it to my attention. I had to do a sort of spit double take. I kind of got a little bit obsessed with this when I had about 16,000 things to be doing, marking, grant reviewing, writing. I went on a bit of a deep dive into these guys because I was also thinking about this pareidolia thing, and it's because this little sauropod embryo has his eyes, and as you already noticed, I noticed that it doesn't have a scale bar. So I took a deep dive. I went onto the coordinates that they shared, went to the NASA. I had to go and find the NASA documents with the maps, go and find it, and then
Now,
I tried to
hang on
make.
a sec. Leaders, listeners, I would just like to say at this point that Rob is one of the busiest people that you will have ever met. He teaches a very large number of students. He has a number of PhD students. He has a series of
Yeah, yeah,
responsibilities on
yeah,
various
yeah.
professional
Yes, yes,
associations,
yes,
which,
yes.
you know, and he's not always the best at replying to emails. And now
No,
we know
no.
why.
Because I went in to find these maps and download the images to try and figure out how big this thing is. And image number one, this sauropod embryo. Do you want to know how big it is?
How big is it?
It's 10 kilometers wide. It's 10, it's 10 this baby dinosaur on the moon is 10 kilometers. So, oh God.
Oh dear.
I think we may poke a few holes in this hypothesis.
Is de-extinction a scam? The shady dealings of colossal biosciences and their claims to have brought direwolves back from extinction.
So, Susie, you said you've already had a little bit of a think about de-extinction. How would you describe de-extinction?
Um, I think the conclusion that I have come to, having read a little bit about it, is that it is not possible, pointless, and potentially takes money away from genuine conservation efforts. So overall, not that positively.
Big spoiler alert there.
What is the point? What is, and this is the crux, what is the point in trying to bring back something that is extinct?
Okay, well, I have an
And
answer
I
to
mean,
you
they're
then.
not even doing it, are they? So that's the other thing. I mean, we
Yeah,
have established that
yeah,
they are not doing it. What? Okay,
yes,
let's rephrase that. What is the point
yeah.
in genetically engineering a series of organisms and then pretending to the world that you have brought back an
That
extinct
is an
organism?
excellent question that I think really gets to the crux of this whole, I was going to say a bad word, this whole situation.
One of our most popular episodes downloaded in terms of download numbers was Where Did Pterosaurs Come From?
So pterosaurs is interesting because, where they come from has always been a massive problem, right?
Well, exactly. Pterosaurs obviously are the first vertebrates to achieve powered flight. So they are these reptiles that are they're closely related to dinosaurs. They're like the cousins of the dinosaurs, and they lived alongside the dinosaurs in the Mesozoic. And they have wings that are kind of skin, they're membranes, aren't they? They're not like they're not feathered or anything like that.
Mhm.
And there's various controversies about pterosaurs, everything from how they flew and whether or not their wings were attached to their ankles or halfway down their legs or other parts of their bodies and all sorts of different things. But
Whether
this
they had
paper is
integument and did they have feathers? That's another one.
good
No,
point. Yeah,
yeah.
integument, whether they had these kind of they have these sort of filamentous sort of
Mhm.
integument, don't they? Um, but this paper actually goes right back to the beginning of the pterosaurs and looks at um, yeah, like why, where they came from and how they first radiated, and the early evolutionary history of them, and what
Mhm.
factors in the environment might have allowed them to diversify and radiate.
Next, Cretaceous zombie ants, when fossilized ants were revealed to be infected with a mind-altering fungi.
Why am I talking about these ants? It's because I started talking about fungi and ways to die. It's because they have found evidence for what they suggest are these, if I can say the word again, entomopathogenic fungi. Now, this is fungi that eat insects and can change their behavior in weird ways. Have you come across these fungi before?
Have you seen The Last of Us?
I haven't
Oh
seen
my
it, but
God.
have you seen it and played the game? There's a
Yes.
game, right? So tell me about the program.
Okay, I'm not a gamer. I can't comment on
Okay.
the computer game, but yeah, I think it is based on that, isn't it? Well, it's basically, a sort of post-apocalyptic world where these fungi eating zombie ant things, where the fungi is basically, it's jumped to humans and you grow a fungus and it sort of explodes out your head.
Yeah.
Broadly. Yeah, that's pretty much
So
the
yeah, the way these
storyline.
fungi work is that they will infect an ant. Well, it's not just an ants. They can do it to spiders, as famously, and all sorts of insects. But spiders and ants are the ones that are perhaps the most famous. This fungus will, burrow into the body, get into the hemocoel. Is that the right word? I can't remember the cavity inside all the fluids, and then they can do weird stuff by making you change the behaviors. Now, I'm quite interested in what the mechanism is. How do they change the behavior of the organism once they're inside it? But that's where they ask these ants. They don't ask. It's not like a conversation going on. The ant or the spider will then go up to a space, climb quite high, find itself exposed, or in the case of these ants, bite onto a leaf and they just hold on in a death grip. And then the spores come out of their head and explode.
Ah!
Yes, yes, it's horrifying. And this paper has some nice pictures of that. So it's called cordyceps.
Next, the Spicomellis special, in which Susie explains her new big ankylosaur scoop from Morocco.
So, it's difficult because if I'm asking you the wrong person, you could go on for hours about this. Give us a summary about how weird and mad Spicomellis is.
So Spicomellis is an ankylosaur. It's the oldest ankylosaur in the fossil record, and it's the only one that is known from Africa. It is it's Middle Jurassic, it's 165 million years old. So ankylosaurs are really well known from the Cretaceous period, particularly from the late Cretaceous, and when they really start to get going. They're best known from North America and Asia. And the thing with Spicomellis is, because we have very, very little information about that at the very early stages of ankylosaur evolution, although we know they must have been there in the Middle Jurassic. So having this very, very early ankylosaur, you might think, okay, this is great because it's going to help us to understand kind of the early stages in the construction of ankylosaur's very unusual body plan. They have this very wide body, short limbs, and of course completely covered in armor. And the crazy thing about Spicomellis, so I might have predicted that its armor might be, it might consist of a few plates, maybe not all covered,
Mhm.
maybe kind of flattish plates with maybe little kind of peaks in the middle or something, quite simple, like not like super elaborate. But it turns out that that's not what the earliest ankylosaur looks like at all. Is absolutely covered apparently from head to foot with these incredibly long spikes. And we actually don't see spikes in ankylosaurs very much. Generally, the armor, it does tend to be more flattish. We have some plates, but we don't tend to have loads of spiky things. And in Spicomellis, a really crazy thing that it has is, in several ankylosaurs, we know they have kind of these neck rings. They're called cervical half rings. They're like collars that go around the neck. And normally they're just made up of kind of flat plates or little pyramid-like plates. In Spicomellis, we've got a huge neck ring, and it has 4 spikes sticking out from the sides. Now, we've only got one complete one, but they all look to have been the same size. And the one complete one is 87 centimeters long. So it's got a meter-long spike sticking out from its neck. So it would have had 4 of these meter-long spikes.
That's not coming from the ribs, right? That we won't be on. It's not.
No, that's
no.
just that's an actual osteoderm. So
it's
that's
an
a
actual
bony
osteoderm.
plate.
Because this is the thing that I find so weird about Spicomellis is that. Sorry, I'm interjecting you in the middle of saying this, but this is why I find this taxon so weird, right? So, as fossil file fans might be aware, Susie's the dinosaur person. I'm not dinosaur person. All the stuff about it being earliest ankylosaur for someone like me leaves me a bit cold-hearted. But the fact that it's got things sticking out of its ribs, they're like these armored ones, I expected to have osteoderm plates on top of it, right? But this thing is weird. This is an N of 1 from the vertebrate fossil record, as far as I'm aware.
It absolutely is, and I mean, but we knew that about it before. It was just
Yeah,
that
that's true. That's from your
people were
first paper.
dubious about our identification.
Yeah,
You
but
know, somebody even said, could this be some sort of weird fish jaw? But no, you know, we were right.
No.
They were ankylosaurid
Yeah.
ribs. So you know, we knew that already, but I think what we didn't know on top of that, I mean, we didn't know that it was covered. You know, every single dorsal rib had those, which we now know, and there were 6 of them on each dorsal rib. But we also know that it had some sort of tail weapon. So they had these vertebrae in the end of the tail that are fused together. And this is something that you really only see much later in ankylosaur evolution, or we thought we only saw much later in ankylosaur evolution, with the ankylosaurs that have a tail club. And we haven't found a tail club. We're not sure it has a tail club, but it has some sort of weapon. We think it might have a spiky weapon because the rest of it's covered in spikes. And also, actually, honestly, we just couldn't find. There's not enough places in the body to fit all these spikes. So we're like, oh yeah, maybe they must be on the tail because they're not on the back because that's the rib spikes.
In July, we had a look at whether Neanderthals might have been the first fossil collectors.
Do you know what a manoport is?
Haven't got a clue.
No, it's an object that might have been carried from one place to another. So the idea is it's just it might not necessarily have a function, it might not necessarily be a tool. It's just saying that someone, often in this case ancient humans, have picked up something and taken it from other than where it should be. But one of the oldest ones is the Erfurt manoport. This is from 300,000 to 200,000 years old.
Food. Is it from Morocco?
Yes, it's from Morocco.
Oh, I know food.
Okay, so can you take a look at the Erfurt manoport and describe to our listeners what that is?
Okay. Is it a burrow?
It's not a burrow.
Cast. Okay, listeners, it looks like a penis. That's what it looks
Yes,
like.
it is.
This is the entire reason why
Yes.
didn't want me to read this paper in the first case.
Yes, yeah, it was one of the reasons, yeah. But yes, the Erfurt manoport is apparently a famous one. It is 700 millimeters long, 35 millimeters wide at its widest point, and it's a fossilized fragment of a cuttlefish. So I'm not just doing this to torture you. It is an actual bona fide fossil remain, potentially being used by humans. But
how was it being used by humans, Rob?
I don't know how polished this thing is, but it's it's very clearly resembling the form of a non-erect human phallus. To quote, you know,
yes.
And many of the scholars that have discussed it have talked about it in this light.
I like the detail, the non-erect detail.
Don't you shouldn't shame, right? Body shaming is not appropriate. Maybe your cuttlefish fossil cast is everyone comes in different sizes. So so that is the context of which we enter this paper.
In December, we also had a chat with Steve Brusatte to find out that dinosaurs were doing fine before the asteroid.
You know, public consciousness, pop culture, that there's something about, dinosaurs had feathers and
well, that's partly because of you, right? Because you were, I understand that you were the one asking for feathered dinosaurs to turn up in Jurassic World.
I'm happy to take credit for that, but no, to be honest, I mean, it was Colin Trevorrow who was the director of Jurassic World Dominion, that when he actually read my book, that's how I got to know him. He read The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs, and he just sent me an email one day. And he said, I'm Colin. And he said, I'm Colin. My name's Colin. I make scientifically inaccurate dinosaur films. I just read your book and I'd like to talk with you. I thought it was a joke. I thought one of my students was, was playing a joke on me. But I, we talked on the phone and he came to Edinburgh. We met at the Whiskey Society, Scotch Malt Whiskey Society.
Nice.
It was at noon, so we didn't have whiskey. We had really nice coffee. They have great coffee. And, he said right away, I want there to be feathered dinosaurs in this film. So he told me that before he even hired me. But I was very happy to, play a role in getting those dinosaurs onto the screen and making them as accurate and realistic as possible. But of course, that's a film and it's a monster movie. And so in things like the books I write, I have much more creative control to tell the story, the way I want to. And what I'm hoping with this book is that, it can help articulate to the public what we really mean as scientists when we say birds are dinosaurs. Birds evolved from dinosaurs. And how did they evolve from dinosaurs?
In December, we had a look at AI, artificial intelligence, and the future of paleontology, and some of the weird and wonderful implications of using this potentially world-damaging technology to advance paleontology.
I did want to present you to a couple of examples that I haven't sent you in advance, so I'm doing this on the hoof. of examples where paleontology and AI has been used in an actual paper.
After that time where you sent me a picture of a penis, it was a rock. It was a rock shaped like a penis.
The Earth Food Matterport is a very important and serious piece of research. I wasn't just sending you things in a work that's going to be cancelled with HR. Let me send you a couple of pictures now. So this is the question about whether or not humans, Homo habilis, was being eaten by leopards or not. So Homo habilis is a fossil human from about 2 million years ago in Africa, a sort of transitional human species. And there's debate about whether or not it was an apex predator or not. So here are some skulls of Homo habilis with puncture marks in its head. So the question is it an apex predator or is it being eaten by leopards? So I'm going to send you this picture now, which I guess is interesting in the paleo art perspective. I have no idea what this image makes me laugh because I have no idea where it's come from. I can only find it on Facebook, which is not very secure. So
I don't have Facebook, so you might have to screen grab it for me.
Okay.
Oh no, I've got it. Oh, gross.
We've got this
It's
sort of
actually
Homo
worse than the
habilis.
penis. Oh my God.
I'm reluctant to publicize this image because I don't know where it came from. But we've got this. There is some real fossils with puncture marks seemingly on the skull, and then this idea that this leopard might have been puncturing the eyes of this particular Homo habilis. It's a very sad-looking creature.
This is some sort of. It looks like a kind of. It looks like what Hollywood might dress an early human up like. So it's a sort of ape-like hairy thing, and it's a leopard with its fangs, its canines puncturing the eyes of this poor thing, and it's obviously got its mouth open in a. It's in a scream.
Now let me send you some extra science to go associated with this.
Okay.
In one of our early episodes, Dinosaur Poos from Poland, where we looked at how Triassic coprolites were used to reconstruct dinosaur origins.
One thing, though, in the methods that they brush over very rapidly, and that I do actually think is a little bit problematic, is...
Oh, you've got your attention peak now. Go ahead.
Okay, well, it's the question of who did it. Because this is going to always be the problem with the poo and the sick, unless you find the dinosaur or other tetrapods in the process of actually doing the poo. It's going to be very, very difficult to identify who actually did it. And so what they did, I quite like this terminology here, they said the bromelites were classified according to their gross morphology. I think gross being the operative word.
Classified according to the disgusting morphology.
So basically, they looked at the shape and the size and what was inside them, and then looked at the fauna of the assemblage that they were found in, and then decided who kind of dealt them. So like if it's an enormous poo with bone in, they went, that must be the large theropod we know from the fauna. He must have done that one. So I do think that there's a bit of circularity in terms of, it doesn't, because you're only ever going to identify it to elements of the fauna that we already know.
I think that's an interesting point. I hadn't. I realized they classified them into loose categories, which I thought was probably defendable, but I hadn't until you mentioned it realized the potential circularity there. If this is a big meaty one with bones in it, then it belongs to a meat eater. But that's kind of a difficulty because that's what we're trying to establish with these patterns through time, is that we want to know who's doing what and who's eating what. And if we're making those sorts of judgments, also I guess okay, we're quickly devolving into thinking about poo now, but it's inevitable with this. Does your poo change shape if you eat meat one day? If you're an omnivore and I have a meat heavy month, does my poo morphology change from? Well, I shouldn't include me. If one is a dinosaur and you're a heterodontus one, an omnivorous one, and you eat a plant heavy month and then you have a meat heavy month, does your morphology of your poos end up looking different?
That's a good point. I don't know. I'm not a carnivore, so I couldn't.
Well, we could do.
We're
scientists. We should do some experiments. Oh, you're not a carnivore, right? Well, I should maybe focus this on. This is getting too weird, right? I should stop talking about this.
Let's move on, Rob.
Move on rapidly.
One of my other favourites was a dinosaur one, which is unusual for me, but that's because we got lurid. We looked at backbreaking and baby making, the disturbing bedroom habits of hadrosaurs using bone injuries to reconstruct dinosaur sex.
I'm
think
asking
about
you.
these
I'm
sorts of
asking
things.
you
Yeah.
to please
Okay.
explain this.
Okay. Well, they do in the paper describe some of this. So snakes are weird, and snakes, alligators, and birds are the ones that I guess the interesting comparisons, right? They have an internal penis which they will invert. They talk about a cloacal kiss at one point in there, which I haven't Googled. So a cloaca is a urogenital opening in archosaurs, right? So you have, rather than having, as we do, multiple holes for multiple things, they have one hole which has all the sex organs and urine and poo all coming out the same hole. So a cloacal kiss is cloacal to cloacal content, and then all this, I should be doing justice with my fingers. These the mating happens with these two holes coming together, and then the penis is introverted in that sense. It's not like a horse or an elephant where you might be dangling. These things are internal and then introverted. But they talked about club-shaped phalluses in ostriches, and this alarmed me a little bit. They also mentioned ducks explicitly because ducks are a weird outlier for. Oh, I don't want to go talking about the sex lives with ducks because it's disgusting.
It is. It's really disgusting.
It's really disgusting.
They're awful. Ducks are awful.
Oh, the level of violence and corkscrews and
God.
there. Let's not go into that. But anyway, the point is that modern comparisons are things like alligators, snakes, and ostriches make a good comparison point. But the cloaca to cloaca contact, which leads to this figure 3, which is the Kama Sutra of hadrosaurs, I guess, which is laying out these plausible figures of how this is the figure that you sent me last night of the different kinds of hypotheses where they think the hadrosaurs were doing their business.
So this is the other anecdote I wanted to regale you with this morning, which was so this is not the first time that I have seen this sort of figure. About, I don't know, when I was a postdoc, back in, I don't know, 2011 or something, and I was working on locomotion and hip morphology and stuff like this, and I got this email from this guy who I didn't know, and I got into work one morning, it's like 8 o'clock, and I opened my email, and he said, I'm wondering whether you can help me because you work on hips. Could you tell me whether you think that the attached positions are plausible? And so I was like, what's he talking about? So
this guy is clearly dragging you into his kink world.
Well, I opened this attachment.
Why did you open the attachment, Susie?
Well, because I don't, well, I mean,
do you know this person?
No, literally never met this person.
Right,
okay?
Good Lord.
So I opened this attachment, and what it was it was like this image. So it was a series of different sketches of stegosaurs mating, but the stegosaurs had like enormously long kind of prehensile penises that were sort of wrapping around, and so immediately obviously I opened it, I looked at it, and went and then I immediately closed it and like looked around my single person unshared office to check that nobody had seen, but because it was 8 a.m. at the Natural History Museum, it was going to be 2 hours before anybody else turned up, so there was nobody there, so it was fine. And then of course, what do you think was my next course of action?
I really don't know. Delete and then move on.
Actually, Rob, I emailed them to everybody I knew.
In March, one of our earliest bonus episodes was how to get a species of human named after you.
Let me transport you this time to 17th century Russia. So Russia was a pretty different place to it was now. They were quite far behind the curve of sort of industrialization in Russia, and there was lots of rural life, but they also big into their Orthodox religion, and a schism was ripping through the Orthodox Church. So I mean, when I tried to look into what this schism in the church was about, I kind of got confused. There's lots of religious persecution. Some people think the church had gone too far and need to go back to its Greek origins, but a lot of it is related to whether or not, when you do the sign of the cross, you use 1.5 fingers or 2 fingers.
Shut up. That was not what... I tell you what, religion's got an awful lot to answer for. Good Lord.
It wasn't the only thing, but that was part of it.
That was a big issue. Right.
Yeah, I can't imagine the persecutions. A lot of it was also to do with the devil. Is the devil really the devil or the Antichrist? And so some nice, misunderstandings and arguments about what actually is the nature of the devil. So that was the nature of Russia getting absolutely wrecked by this religious persecution. So a lot of people ended up dead and persecuted. Whilst all this is going on, one of these old believers was this guy going back to the old ways called how am I going to pronounce this? Dinosaurs, also known as Dennis.
Let's call him Dennis.
Let's call him Dennis. Now we're being guilty of the imperialism here. This guy, Dennis, he's a hermit. So being a hermit was a big thing, apparently. You go into a cave, you live a simple life, and you sort of, do deeds and look after the people and inspire
Well, I can
people.
imagine it was if you're being schismed for having only half a finger up instead of a full finger up while you do the sign of a cross. I mean, Christ, hermit sounds like a great option.
Help, I'm being schismed. So he got lots of visits in his cave. This is high up in the Altai Mountains of
He
Siberia.
got visits in his cave. He must have
Yeah,
been really
yeah.
cross because he was a hermit.
No. He wasn't
Don't
the sort
want
of hermit
visits.
he wasn't that sort of hermit. He was the one that was more like a pastor. So he was receiving
okay.
people to and fro in his faith. Anyway, the cave ended up being called St. Dennis's Cave. Have you seen where this is going yet?
No.
No. Okay. All right.
No.
Later on in 2008, Mikhail
I've seen
Shunkov.
where it's going.
You've seen where this is going. What happened?
2008.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this is in some way related to the Denisovans.
Absolutely. You've got there. You're ahead of me already.
Yay.
So in 2008, Mikhail Shunkov and team went there to have a look in this cave, and they found a tiny little isolated pinky bone from a small girl. It was around 60,000 years old, and they were able to extract DNA from it. Now, in 2008, that's quite ahead of the curve there. We talked about ancient DNA before, but that is way ahead. And what was unusual about this is that the DNA was completely distinct, well, not completely, but very distinct from modern humans and from Neanderthals. It was some other unknown species of people only known from DNA.
And finally, one of our more recent episodes, were giant super intelligent octopuses the top predators of the Cretaceous? Spoiler alert, possibly not. Once again, I am absolutely gobsmacked that this has been published in Science. I mean, Science is one of the... I just had a paper rejected from Science, and it was way, way more rigorous. Like,
is that where some of the spikiness is coming from? Is it actually
I don't know,
that your butt hurt?
What? Possibly. But what I really want to know is what is it that these guys have on the editor of Science? Because it must be must be enormous.
No, we know what it is. It's a large headline grabbing claim. It's exciting, right? People love this sort of thing about paleontology, right? Giant, massive, super intelligent predators is an interesting idea, right? That maybe the top predator wasn't mosasaurs and plesiosaurs. Maybe it was a giant octopus. That's fun. People like it.
Yeah, but it's not founded in any science. It's just completely made up. It's just complete speculation.
Well, let's not say completely made up. Let's say they've inferred more than I would be comfortable with given the data available.
Yeah, okay. I'll agree with that.
So, Susie, that was some of the highlights of what we got for our first year. How many more years do you think we've got in us?
I could keep doing this forever, Rob. Sitting on a Tuesday morning, having a chat with you in my attic. It's lovely.
We'll see. Keep those suggestions coming in, everybody, and we look forward to, and we thank you for all your support. The whole point that we're doing this is that there's people listening, and we enjoy being able to build a community of people listening to Fossil Files and loving it. Thank you very much for your time.
The Fossil Files was created by Robert Sansom and Susanna Maidman.
Fossil Files is a labour of love created in our spare time with no budget. So we really welcome any support you can provide us via our Patreon.
There you can access bonus content and join in the discussion by posting your own questions or even participate in live episodes.
In either case, we want to hear what you think. You can let us know what you thought about the topics we discussed or make suggestions for future papers in our social media channels.
You can find links to our Blue Sky, Instagram and YouTube channels on our website fossils.libsyn.com.